We now move on to the 2015 mains question paper of General Studies, paper 4. The first case study is, you are CEO of a private company facing coercion to give jobs to 40 men belonging to a political party who gate-crash into the factory and threaten the management and employees. 1. How to diffuse the situation? 2. Long-term solution to such problems? 3. Positive and negative impacts on employees of your actions. Now the question says that you are the CEO of a small company with about 700 employees. It's a good company, non-unionized. And one day, some 40 men belonging to a political party gate crash into the company, threaten the managers and employees and demand jobs. Now, can you give them the jobs? Obviously not. Just think like this. If some 100 people gate crash into the UPSC and demand that they should be selected for the IAS, can the chairman of the UPSC agree to it? Certainly not. Here also, the company has certain set policies and protocols regarding recruitment, such as open advertisement, tests, interviews, and so on. It would not be possible to recruit employees just like that. So as CEO of the company, I'll first try to diffuse the volatile situation with the gate-crashing violent mob by talking to them, or at least talking to the leaders. Try to explain to them that their demand is unreasonable, and all other things being equal, then local people can be given preference. But it is not possible for the company to select certain persons just because they have gate-crashed into the company and doing a dharna. Now, if they don't listen to my pleas and do not vacate, then I'll have to inform the local tahsildar and the local inspector of police. Usually, they are the first points of reference, and they will come to this factory site and try to talk to the leaders and make them vacate. I will also keep the sub-collector and the DSP, the sub-collector of the RDO and the ASP or DSP. I'll keep them in the loop so that if the tahsildar and the inspector are not able to solve the problem, then they may have to step in. Since it's a small issue, I don't think it will need to be escalated to the level of the collector and the SP. And the issue would be complicated if there were some mistakes on the company's side. Let us say the company is a serial polluter. Then the company has to be on the defensive. Here the company has done nothing wrong. The gate crashers' demand is entirely wrong. So the company need not be too defensive, and the issue should be possible to sort out the issue. You may remember that in an earlier case study I had mentioned that every person or every group of persons has a switch. By switch, I mean an authority figure or an opinion leader whose words they would listen to. So in this case also, I will try to find out the authority figure or opinion leader whose advice or words the gate crashers will listen to. It may be the local MLA or MP or the party's district secretary or anybody else. I'll identify this person and request him to put in a word. In short, there is absolutely no question of acceding to their demand that they be recruited. The second question is, what is the long-term solution? There is also a mention that this company does not do any favors to the district administration and the police. Now, that could be one of the reasons why this company is not very popular with the local government officials. But maybe this company need not do any favors, but it should try to maintain good relations. Even public sector undertakings, banks, and others do it. Small things like giving gifts for Diwali, calendars and diaries for New Year, contributions to good. Regarding the question as to what should be the long-term solution, my suggestion would be that the company should build and maintain good relations with all its stakeholders, the district administration, the police, the local public, maybe by doing some good corporate social responsibility or CSR work for the community, and even the local politicians. This will come in handy during a crisis like this one. Maintaining good relations doesn't mean, giving contracts to these people or appointing whom they say. It doesn't mean that. I mean, that would again be a bad thing. Maintaining good relations means showing normal courtesies and normal hospitality. The question says every solution or action that you suggest will have a positive and a negative impact on you as CEO, the employees, and the performance of the employees. Analyze the consequences of each of your suggested actions. Now, obviously, yielding to the mob's demand can lead to negative consequences. Number one, if today you give appointments to the 40 gate crashes, tomorrow there will be 100 gate crashes. Obviously, you can't give appointment to all future gate crashes. So you have to draw the line. You have to make it clear that there is absolutely no question of giving jobs to the gate crashes. If you yield and give jobs to even one or two, it can lead to negative consequences because these guys are surely going to be troublemakers and they will destroy the harmonious and peaceful climate that is said to be currently prevailing in the company. They may also frighten and demotivate the existing employees of the company who are said to be peaceful and decent. On the other hand, if you diffuse the situation deftly, your stock as CEO will go up in the eyes of the employees. It will also embolden them and motivate them to work harder. So let me recapitulate. This is a fairly straightforward case study. I don't see any great dilemma involved. As CEO of the company, I will first try to diffuse the volatile situation by summoning the leaders of the mob, of the gate crashing mob, and talking to them. I will try to explain to them that the company has certain set policies, procedures, and protocols regarding recruitment, such as open interviews, tests, and open advertisement, tests, and interviews. And so it will not be possible to recruit employees just like that. If they do not vacate, then I will inform the local Tahsildar and Inspector of Police and also keep the Sub-Collector and DSP in the loop. Since the company has not committed any irregularity and the demand of the mob is unreasonable, I believe that the Tahsildar and the Inspector should be able to solve the problem at their level. Just in case they are not able to do it, then the Sub-Collector and the DSP should be able to solve it. I don't think the matter will get escalated up to the level of the Collector and the SP. I'll also find out the authority figure or opinion leader whose advice these gate crashes will listen to. As I said, every individual, every group has an authority figure or opinion leader or a switch whose words they will listen to, and I should try to do the same. I would try to do the same thing here also. As regards the long-term solution for the company to avoid such unpleasant occurrences, it is obvious that the company must maintain good and cordial public relations with all the important stakeholders: the district administration, the police, the local politicians, the local public, by doing some good CSR work for the community. It may also be a good idea to have contacts at the state level, such as the Chief Secretary, the DGP, ministers, Chief Minister, and so on. Well, the company should stick to its policy of not doing favors in the matters of recruitments and contracts. It should, however, give small gifts like sweets for Diwali and calendars and diaries for New Year to the key stakeholders and occasional contributions to good causes, because these are things usually done even by public sector agencies. Now, regarding the positive and negative consequences, it's obvious that there is no question of yielding to the mob's demand for jobs, because if you give jobs to these 40, tomorrow another 50, another 100 will come, day after tomorrow another 200 will come. So you have to draw the line at the very first instance. Recruiting even one or two can lead to very adverse consequences. It can destroy the harmonious and peaceful climate currently prevailing in the company. It can also frighten and demotivate the existing decent employees. At the same time, diffusing the situation deftly will raise your stock as a CEO in the eyes of your employees and maybe board members. It will also motivate and embolden your employees and make them work harder. So the next case study is something which you have already considered along with the short video that was played, so I'll skip this. The third case study in the 2015 mains examination is you are the CEO of a pharma company. Your R&D wing can develop a variant of a veterinary drug capable of liver disease endemic in poverty-stricken tribal areas, but the R&D cost is about 50 crores. There's very little market for the drug apart from the tribals. What are the possible actions and the pros and cons of each action? Now the question says that your company manufactures veterinary drugs, but there is one veterinary drug which, with a slight tweaking, can be converted into a very useful, much needed drug for treating liver disease. That is endemic meaning which is persisting in a particular region. The liver disease endemic in poverty-stricken tribal areas. Since this disease is confined only to the tribals and only to certain areas, there is very little market. And the R&D cost of 50 crores is beyond your company's reach. So what do? Obviously, you'll have to approach the government of India or some big international NGO for funds. Let us assume that the company gets the funds for R&D and actually successfully develops the new drug. But the matter doesn't end there. Since, for example, the company may be headquartered in, say, Mumbai. The tribals are confined to certain districts in a few states like Odisha, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, and so on. So how will you make the drugs reach the tribals? That's a massive distribution problem. Second, the tribals may not be aware that such a drug exists. So you have a marketing problem in communicating to tribals that such a new drug has been discovered. You also have a sales problem because even if the tribals are aware of this new drug, they may not have the money to buy. So Government of India may have to subsidize this new drug wholly or substantially. Otherwise the tribals can't afford it. And lastly, as a company, how do you know how much of the drug to produce? You don't have any information. You don't know what the demand is. You don't know what the offtake will be. So you will also have production problems for want of accurate information about the demand for the new drug. Now, from this it is obvious that the distribution function, the marketing function, and the sales function cannot be done by you. This has to be given to the central government or a big NGO. They have to take over these functions. You can at best only do the production function. That is, GOA or a big international NGO should help you by taking over the responsibilities of distribution, marketing, and sales of the drug. And GOI should perhaps subsidize the drug fully or substantially so as to make it affordable to the tribals and leave you only with the responsibility of production to the company. The GOI or the NGO should tell the company each year what quantity of the new drug is required, and they should procure the drug at a predetermined or mutually agreed cost. There is no way you will be able to undertake the distribution, marketing, and sales of these problems of this drug in the tribal areas. You definitely need the Government of India's support or a rich international NGO support. Let me summarize the answer. The company may not be able to mobilize the rupees 50 crores needed for R&D for developing a variant of the veterinary drug to cure the currently incurable liver disease that is endemic in tribal areas. The company will have to approach the Government of India or some big international NGO for the funds. Let us suppose that the company gets the funds for R&D and also successfully develops the new drug. But the tribals are confined to a few pockets in a few states like Odisha, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, etc. And making the drugs available within the easy reach of tribals in such far-flung areas is a massive distribution problem. There will be marketing and sales problems because the tribals may be unaware of the new drug and may lack the purchasing power to buy it unless GOI subsidizes it wholly or substantially. The company will also have production problems because of, or rather for want of, accurate information about the demand for the new drug. So it follows that GOI or a big international NGO will have to help the company by taking over the responsibilities of distribution, marketing, and sales, leaving only the responsibility of production to the company. They should tell the company what quantity of the new drug is required each year and undertake it to procure all of them at a mutually agreed cost. The next case studies question: floods and landslides, 1 lakh persons, locals as well as outsiders trapped along different routes and locations. We have already solved this along with one of the videos that was played earlier, so let me skip this. The next case study question says that the plot of land acquired for a school by your predecessor is part of a heritage site and far away from the village. It is not suitable for a school and the transaction seems shady. What are the likely vested interests? What are the options? First question under the case study says, list the likely vested interests of the concerned parties. The Sarpanch or the Panchayat President, his vested interest in selecting a site so far away from the village may be that his lands are nearby and he thinks that the school comes up in this area and along with the school some shops and other things will come up. Then the real estate prices in the area will shoot up. The vested interest of my predecessor, who, as the case study says, was a relative of the Sarpanch, may have been something similar. Perhaps he also has some lands in that vicinity, or the Sarpanch may have given him a plot of land in return for the favor of locating the school in that area. So these are the broad vested interests that one can think of. Question B in the case studies has a number of sub-questions. It says, some of the options for action available to you are listed below. Discuss the merits and demerits of each of the options. 1. You can await the visit of the superior officer and let him take a decision. The case study says that your superior officer has rung up and told you that he is likely to visit. So I think it is better to, since the superior officer's visit is shortly due, it may be better to await his visit and take a decision in consultation with him rather than take one in a hurry before his visit. Supposing I take a decision before his visit and then he comes and tells me, you could have waited for my visit, or he reverses my decision, then I may look silly. So in this case, I mean, it is better to wait for the superior's visit, since it is anyway shortly due. You are not asking him to take a decision. He himself is planning to visit the site. So it's better that you wait until he arrives. The second is you can seek his advice in writing or on phone. That is the second option suggested in the case study question. My answer would be, I would prefer to put the facts in writing in a letter to the superior officer before he visit and also brief him over the phone. That is, since the superior officer is anyway planning to visit, he should have all the facts before him. So I would like to put down in writing that the site for the school has been wrongly selected. It is in a heritage site. It's far away from the village. And the Sarpanch who sold the site is a relative of my predecessor. I will place all these facts in writing, and I'll also tell the superior officer that I'm awaiting your visit. Let us discuss and decide how to move forward. The third option suggested in the question is, you can consult your predecessor and colleagues and then decide what to do. Consulting with my predecessor as to how and why he took the decision is necessary. Consulting with other colleagues is advisable, but a decision is best taken after the superior officer's visit. Of course, I should not jump to the conclusion that my predecessor is wrong. He may have had his reasons. It looks wrong, the decision looks prima facie wrong, but I should ask my superior as to why he chose such a place. I should ask him, I hope you know that it's part of a heritage site. Do you know that it's far away from the village? Why did you choose such a site? I should ask him. I should get his version. And there's no harm in asking other colleagues also. A general principle in all these things is you can consult with anybody you like, but finally the decision has to be yours. But in this case, since the superior officer has informed me that he proposes to inspect this site, and his visit is due shortly, it would make sense for me to await his visit before taking a decision. The fourth option suggested in the question is, you can find out if any alternate plot can be got in exchange and then send a comprehensive written report. Since the present plot falls in a heritage area, it is said that it is part of the Thakurgarh fort. Construction of the school there may be inadvisable. In fact, the archaeology department or any other department which is in charge of heritage sites will not permit it. They will say, how can you build a school in the middle of a fort? So, because this is a heritage site, part of a heritage site, nobody may be willing to exchange this plot. No other person or agency would be foolish enough to exchange this plot, so you won't be able to, because they also can't do anything in a heritage area. Can you suggest, the case study further says, can you suggest any other option with proper justification? Now, according to me, there are some more options. I have asked my superior as to why he did this. I should also ask the Sarpanch as to why he sold this plot, this inappropriate plot in a heritage area so far away from the village. He may have his reasons. The fundamental principle is don't condemn anybody unless you have given them a hearing. Now, what the Sarpanch did and what your predecessor did may seem to be prima facie wrong, but you should not condemn them unless you have heard their side of the event. Apart from the Sarpanch, I'll also make local inquiries, and that local inquiries will tell me whether the Sarpanch or my predecessor have any lands nearby which could explain the choice of site. I'll also ask other people in the village, don't you think it looks a little shady for the Sarpanch to be choosing this site, heritage site, as the site for the school? Then somebody may say, sir, he has got his own lands nearby. That's why he thinks that the real estate prices will go up, and that's why he has done this. Somebody else may say, your predecessor was a relative of the Sarpanch, he also has got lands nearby, or the Sarpanch gave him a plot of land nearby. Both of them hope to benefit from the increase in real estate prices. So, inquiry with the villagers is also a must. Another alternative option is denotifying the heritage site. But I wouldn't recommend this just because my predecessor and the Panchayat Sarpanch made a mistake. We can't be denotifying this site. It is said that it's part of the Thakurgarh fort. So I won't recommend it. Even if I recommend it, I don't think it will fructify. The department, archaeology department, or whichever department is in charge of this site is certainly not going to agree to denotify the heritage site. So let us recapitulate quickly. The Sarpanch's vested interest in selecting the site for the school so far away from the village, maybe because his lands are nearby and he may have thought that the real estate prices in the area will shoot up once the school and a few shops around it come up there. The vested interest of my predecessor, who is a relative of the Sarpanch, may also be something similar. That is, he may also be having lands nearby, or the Sarpanch may have gifted him a plot of land in that area in return for the favor. Regarding waiting till the superior officer's visit, I think, while as a general principle, you are not supposed to pass the buck to the superior, in this case is different. The superior officer has rung up and told you that he wants to visit this site. So it is better, in my opinion, that since his visit is shortly due, it is better to await his visit and take a decision in consultation with him than one in a hurry before his visit. Should I put the facts in writing to the superior officer before the visit? Yes, I should. I should put all the facts that I know in writing before his visit, and I should also brief him over phone. Should I consult with my predecessor? Yes, I should consult with him. I should ask him how and why he took this strange decision. Should I consult with other colleagues? Yes, I should consult with other colleagues. But decision is best taken. But the decision ultimately has to be taken by me. And in this particular case, it's best taken after the superior officer's visit is over. Is it possible to exchange this site for another site? Not very likely. Because why would anybody exchange their plot for this plot which lies inside a heritage area where they cannot put up any structure? So nobody is going to be, so an exchange seems to be impossible. Are there any other options? Yes, I can think of at least 3 other options. One is I'll make inquiries with the Sarpanch as to why he sold such an inappropriate land so far away from the village and in the middle of a heritage area to my predecessor for a school, locating a school. 2, I'll make inquiries with the other villagers to verify whether the Sarpanch and my predecessor have any vested interests in the form of lands nearby. And 3rd option, which is not likely to fructify, is to denotify the heritage site. But this chances of, I don't think there is any chance of this thing happening. The next question is intergenerational conflicts in a village between elders who want to marry off girls early with minimum education and youngsters who believe that girls should have equal opportunity for education and employment. After an incident of molestation of a girl student, village elders decide not to send girls to school and to boycott families which do not obey. How to ensure girls' safety without disrupting their education, how to change attitudes. Now, I'm sure you've heard of this girl, Yousafzai Malala, in Pakistan, who won the Nobel Prize for Peace. The Taliban didn't like the idea of girls going to school, so they wanted to close down the girls' schools and threaten families from sending girl children to schools. But Yousafzai Malala stood up to the Taliban. She was even shot, but that didn't deter her from standing up for fighting for girls' education rights. Now, similar problems are there in India also. There are some backward states and backward districts, backward villages. There are some what are called Kap Panchayats in some states, which are very obscurantist and old-fashioned in their views, which don't like girl students going to school. The case study describes one such village. It says the village elders want to marry off the girls quickly with minimum education. And they think that if girls get educated, then there'll be fewer jobs left for the boys. So this is obviously a wrong attitude. It is seen that wherever female literacy is higher, wherever women are educated, those states, those countries do much better on the development scale. In this particular case, there has been a simmering tension and conflict between the village elders who don't want to send girls to school and youngsters, progressive youngsters who want girls to study. So taking advantage of a stray molestation incident, the village elders have said, okay, we no more sending girls to school, and if anybody boycotts, anybody sends a girl to school, we'll boycott that family. Now you have to, as a district development officer, you are supposed to resolve this problem. How do you go about it? First, in order that such an incident doesn't happen, I will try to arrange a school bus or van for the girls to ply them from the village to the school and back. Of course, many schools have buses and vans. It's possible that this village school may not have it. And you are aware that many IT companies arrange for vans or taxis for female employees to pick up and drop female employees. So this is something that is routinely done. So one way of ensuring that this kind of mischief doesn't happen again is to arrange for a school bus or a school van. And I will also follow up with the collector and the SP to ensure that the miscreants who molested these girls get charge sheeted and tried in a court of law. Supposing the miscreants, nothing happens to those miscreants, then they will be emboldened to eve tease and molest the girls again. So I will make sure that they are booked and charge sheeted and tried in a court of law. The question also asks, how do you manage and mold patriarchal attitude of the village elders to ensure harmony in intergenerational conflicts? Of course, changing the mindsets of old fogies is very difficult, but I'll try to change the attitudes of the village elders by meeting them and giving them a pep talk. I'll say, of course, it's not going to be over in the first attempt. I may have to visit the village 2 or 3 times and talk to them over and over again. I'll tell them, look, I've arranged for a school bus and such instance of molestation will not happen and the girls will be safe. I'll also stress the importance of female education, not only from the point of supplementing the husband's income, but also for bringing up smarter children. Where the mothers are educated, the children are obviously going to be smarter, as compared to where the mothers are illiterate. I'll also explain to them how all the backward states in the country are the states with the low levels of female literacy. If you notice the backward states of the country, like Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, and Bihar, you will notice that all of them suffer from very low levels of female literacy. Whereas the developed and progressive states like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Goa, Karnataka have very high levels of female literacy. So female literacy and development of a state are directly correlated. Another point that I would like to stress and impress upon the village elders is that as per the Right to Education Act 2009, RTE Act, education of all children up to the age of 14 years is compulsory. That is, parents must send their children to school up to the age of 14. And as I said in several case studies earlier, every individual and every group of persons has a switch, an authority figure or an opinion leader whose words they will listen to with respect. I'll try to identify such authority figures or opinion leaders and request them also to pitch in and persuade these village elders to lift their boycott decision. One more thing that I will do is I'll identify successful career women from that village or from the village elders community and ask them to canvass for the lifting of the ban. I'll also identify progressive elements within the village from among the youngsters and middle-aged persons and build a coalition that will put pressure on the village elders. Now, the village elders may be obscurantist and backward-looking, but there will certainly be a lot of people, progressive people within the same village, among the youngsters, among the middle-aged persons. So I'll build a coalition of like-thinking persons and tell them, request them, please put pressure on your village elders to lift the ban. And of course, as a last resort, I'll rope, if everything fails, then I'll rope in the district administration, the Tahsildar, the sub-collector and the collector. Then they may visit the village and sort out the issue. But that will only be as a last resort. I'll try to sort out the issue on my own. Let me quickly summarize the answer. There are 2 questions at the end of the case study. What steps would you take to ensure girls' safety without disrupting their education? In order that such incidents do not recur, I'll try to arrange a school bus or van for the girls to ply them to the village, from the village to the school and back. Not only that, I'll also follow up the matter with the collector and the SP and ensure that the miscreants who molested the girls on their way to school get charge sheeted and tried in a court of law and punished. This will act as a deterrent for others. The second question under the case study is, how do you manage and mold patriarchic attitude of the village elders to ensure harmony in the intergenerational relations? Of course, in order to change the attitudes of the village elders, I'll have to meet with them several times and give them pep talk. I will stress the importance of female education, not only from the point of supplementing the husband's income, but also from the point of bringing up smarter children. I'll explain to them how all backward states in the country are states with low levels of female literacy. I'll also point out that as per the Right to Education Act, RTA Act 2009, all children up to the age of 14 must be compulsorily sent to school. And for every individual or group of persons, there is always a switch or an authority figure or opinion maker whose words they will listen. I'll try to find who is the authority figure or opinion maker whose words these village elders will listen and request that person or persons to put in a word. Another option is to identify successful career women, either hailing from that village or hailing from the same community as the village elders, and requesting those women to speak to the village elders, either in person or over phone or whatever, and request them to lift their ban. The village elders may be retrograde in their thinking, but I'm sure there are a lot of progressive people in the village, among the youngsters. I will build a coalition of all like-minded progressive people of the village and request them to put pressure on the village elders to lift the ban. And if all this fails, I'm sure that I'll be able to solve the problem at my level. But if all this fails, I'll rope in the